Welcome back, everyone. It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we are here on PTCGO taking a look at a new Tapu Koko GX deck. Tapu Koko GX has been around for quite some time, and it's one of those cards that if you just look at it in a vacuum, it seems very, very strong, but just really hasn't had the best chance to shine. It has popped up as a tech here and there in like Rayquaza decks before rotation. We also have seen Tapu Bulu players sometimes make use of it, but by and large, the card hasn't seen the success that I think it's really deserved ever since it's come out. But thanks to Lost Thunder, we have the new Naganadel, and I think this actually might give Tapu Koko enough of a boost to be pretty playable. This deck in general kind of functions similarly to Blacephalon, if you guys are familiar with that archetype. But actually, I think in some cases it even works a little bit better than Blacephalon, depending on your matchup. It's definitely going to be it's definitely going to vary across the board, but this deck actually does seem pretty strong based on my games I've played with it so far. So let's take a look at it and see what makes it tick. So of course the main attacker here is going to be Tapu Koko GX. We're playing 4 of this card. So let's take a look at this guy. Just a quick little refresher. It has 170 HP, no weakness and resistance, which is actually pretty important. Most lightning Pokemon are going to be weak to fighting, so being able to not be hit for weakness so easily by things like Buzzwole and Lycanroc and Buzzwole GX are going to be actually really, really important. So that's a fantastic attribute of this card. To retreat, also a little annoying, but it's really not too relevant most of the time in this deck, just because we have this fantastic ability Arrow Trail. Whenever you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of lightning energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon, and then if you do, switch this Pokemon with your active. So basically what this means is if we have a bunch of lightning energy in play, we can slap this guy down out of nowhere and start attacking in a pinch. And then it has 2 attacks, both of which cost 2 lightning and a colorless. Sky High Claws does just kind of a vanilla 130, but thanks to all the different damage modifiers we run in this deck, we can actually climb up pretty high in terms of our damage output. And then we have Tapu Thunder GX as well, 50 times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So both attacks I think are actually pretty good. Tapu Thunder is going to net us a giant one-hit knockout. Sky High Claws, most of the time before Lost Thunder, we were just going to be taking 2-hit knockouts, but thanks to Electropower and Choice Bands and things like that, we can actually take 1-hit knockouts with this card. And so the idea with this deck is, whenever Tapu Koko takes a hit, we bench another and kind of preserve all of our energy in play and try to keep our attackers out of harm's way. So we're playing 4 of this guy, we're not playing any other attackers, and the reason we're playing 4, even though you're not going to use all 4 in a game, is because we just need to be able to draw into them. So that's going to be the big reason we're maxing out our Tapu Kokos here. Next up, we have a 4-3 Naganadel line. We are choosing to play the Poipole back from Forbidden Light. Very important to note here. The other one is decent. It has an attack that lets you look at your prizes, but I actually am going to favor the poison damage here because unlike Blacephalon, we don't have any attacks that really make use of our prize cards. So I think being able to just get some extra damage on the board is going to be more impactful. This is going to make the difference in some cases between needing maybe 1 Electropower versus 2. So I definitely like the poison much better in here as opposed to Blacephalon, just as an example. And of course, much like Blacephalon, we are playing the new Naganadel from Lost Thunder. For this ability, charging up once during your turn before you attack, may attach a basic energy from your discard to this Pokemon. So obviously you can see what we're trying to do. In the early portions of the game, we want to get a bunch of these Naganadels into play, and then throw down a Tapu Koko once we have 3 energy in play, and start attacking. Naganadel is actually a pretty decent attacker as well, though has Turning Point for 3 colorless energy does 80, but if you have 3 prizes remaining, this attack does 80 more. So this is nice because, we play a bunch of Choice Bands, so we can even hit for 190 in this deck at some point with this card. So just a nice little backup attacker if we do need it. And then to round out the Pokemon line, just 2 copies of Tapu Lele GX for that Wonder Tag ability, of course. This is actually a really streamlined deck. This is one thing I do like about this deck in general. There's not a whole lot of fluff, not really any fancy text, just, as you can definitely see by the Pokemon line, very straightforward, just Tapu Kokos, Naganadels, and some Leles. That's it. But going on to the rest of the deck, a lot of standard inclusions. We have 4 Cynthia, 3 Lily here. Also playing 1 copy of Sightseer. So you may discard any number of cards from your hand. If you do, draw until you have 5. But yeah, so this is just a nice little alternate form of draw power. We want to get lightning energy in the discard anyways. You could opt to play something like Sophocles in here as well. I think that is equally as viable in terms of like an extra draw supporter to run in the deck, I think that's fine. But right now, I'm just running with Sightseer. But like I said, Sophocles I think is equally just as good if you prefer that over Sightseer. 3 Guzmas, of course, to choose what we want to hit knockouts on. We have 1 copy of Acerola as well, so put 1 of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So this is nice because if one of our Tapu Kokos gets attacked, we can throw down another, suck all the energy off of it, and then use Acerola to pick up the damaged Tapu Koko to potentially to reuse at some point as well. We're only playing the 1 copy. This is not a very defensive Tapu Koko deck like we've seen in the past. We've seen some people try to run things like heavy Acerola counts, heavy Super Scoop Ups, but like I said, this is going to be a little bit more aggressive, so I'm not really playing a whole lot of these defensive, like, knockout denying cards like this or Super Scoop Up. I think 1 is still worth playing in the deck. And then the last supporter is just 1 copy of Professor Kukui, just yet again another damage modifier. So draw 2 cards and then we do 20 more to our opponent's active. So just an alternate way of hitting the right numbers that we need to. Going on to the rest of the deck, for Ultra Ball pre-standard, we have 3 Mysterious Treasures as well. Even though we can't search out Tapu Kokos, it's just so important to get down 2 to 3 Poipoles on the first turn, because in this deck, unlike Blacephalon, you don't really bench your Tapu Kokos until you have a bunch of Naganadels. So we really just want to prioritize getting as many Poipoles into play as possible. So that's why you're playing the 7 search cards like this. We also have 3 Acrobite, just another card that's going to allow us to dig a little bit deeper and maybe get some lightning energy in the discard. So look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and discard the other. Very nice at trying to hit those combo pieces that we might need to get a big 1-hit knockout. We have 4 Electropower, like I've already kind of mentioned. So this is a very powerful new item card that we did get out of Lost Thunder. During your turn, your Lightning Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. So with 2 Electropowers and a Choice Band, or maybe let's just say an Electropower and a Choice Band, we're going to be hitting for 190 with Sky High Claws, which is nice because we can take big 1-hit knockouts on things like Blacephalon GX, similarly Buzzwole GX, Tapu Lele GX, or if we have even more Electropowers, we can climb over top of that and hit for even more damage than that too. So this is how we are going to push Tapu Koko into 1-hit knockout territory. We also have 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher, of course, just as a form of recovery. 3 Choice Bands as well. It's going to be another damage modifier that we have in the deck. And then I believe just to round out the rest of the trainer cards, we have some Stadiums, 3 Aether Paradise. So this is going to be one of the few defensive cards that we do have in the deck. So our basic Grass and Lightning Pokemon take 30 less from our opponent's attacks. So it's actually pretty relevant, especially against Zoroark variants, just as an example. It's not uncommon for them to go, Riot Beating with a Choice Band and a Kukui to hit that magic kind of like 170 damage to knock out Pokemon like Tapu Koko. So having Aether Paradise will kind of force them to have something like a Field Blower or Devoured Field or something like that to, get that knockout. So Aether Paradise is just going to make certain Pokemon a little bit more difficult to actually take knockouts on you. So that's why we are playing this. And of course, one of the new Thunder Mountain Prism Star Stadium cards as well is going to reduce the attack cost of our Lightning Pokemon by 1 Lightning less. So sometimes if we can't seem to find our Naganadels for whatever reason, or whatever it might be, Thunder Mountain is another way at kind of, getting an extra energy into play, so to speak. So, this is actually a card, believe it or not, you could maybe even consider cutting. It's been hit or miss in the games I've played with it so far, but there's definitely some good times when it does work. But most of the times, if you get 2 Naganadel in play, you don't even need Thunder Mountain. So this is definitely on my list of cards I think actually could be replaced with other stuff, but nevertheless, it still has its moments for sure. And then to round out the list, we have 12 Lightning Energy. That's going to be it, guys. Like I said, nothing really too fancy in this deck. Really just straightforward. Just everything we need to get going, and hopefully to try to take some big 1-hit knockouts with our Tapu Kokos. But yeah, guys, let's hop over into some games and see how this deck looks in action. Alrighty, guys, looks like we have ourselves a game here. Opponent is just going to call the coin flip, which we do lose, so a little bit unfortunate since this deck doesn't really have the best first turn offensive options. We don't have anything like a Alolan Vulpix or anything like that to have a strong first turn, so never fun losing the coin flip with this deck. But we were fortunate enough to start with Poipole, so actually this could even kind of work out for us. and our opponent is going to get down in Ultra Space. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be Blacephalon. Could also be Beast Box as well, but okay, yeah, as we can see, it is going to be a Blacephalon GX deck here. So I actually feel kind of okay about this matchup just because Blacephalon, I think, really doesn't get going till on average of turn 3. I think that's really when the deck, in my experience, starts to like pop off, and I think we're actually a little bit faster than them. So as long as this Mars Shadow that they're about to hit us with doesn't just put us into a dead hand, I feel like we can probably get set up just a little bit quicker than they can. So unfortunately, they are going to hit us with that Let Loose ability, makes us both shuffle in and draw 4. But this is actually a fantastic hand to work with. And yeah, I actually do like that we start with Poipole, and this is a situation where playing the poison one is actually very beneficial, just because if we poison this Tapu Lele, then the 10 damage actually really makes a big difference between needing like a Choice Band and an Electropower versus just one of those. So definitely showing off how this Poipole is going to be superior to the other one in this particular type of deck. So our opponent is going to Ultra Ball away some stuff, getting down another Poipole of their own that seems pretty good, and then just pass over to us. Okay, so we are going to abuse that Ultra Space our opponent did put in play. That's definitely going to help us out here. And just taking a peek through our deck, our Thunder Mountain is in there. I think our Kukui and Acerola were both in there. Acerola in particular probably won't be too big in this match, but Kukui potentially could be of importance. So here we're going to Mysterious Treasure, getting ourselves another Poipole. We really want 2 Naganadels ideally on turn 2 if possible. And here we're just going to play Cynthia, refreshing our hand. Okay, so this hand is actually pretty good for the following turn. We do have another Poipole in hand, but honestly, I kind of want to save it. I want to play this Mysterious Treasure next turn, so I want to, I think, discard that. Just because, like I said, we only need 2 Naganadels at a time, and there's a chance our opponent won't even knock us out since they didn't get down an energy attachment the previous turn either. So we actually might even be safe from an attack this turn. So here our opponent is going to evolve into a Naganadel and play a Cynthia of their own here. So let's see, no doubt they're going to be looking for some energy. That is what they did miss last turn, which incidentally worked out really well for us. So here they are going to use that charging up ability, getting some fire energy into play. Now, if they do have energy switch, they could do something like attach, retreat, energy switch, and go for like a burst GX or something. Okay, but just a pass. And okay, yeah, we have a pretty solid hand to work with for this turn. So here we can yet again abuse that Ultra Space. That things are really coming in handy for us in this game so far. So we can get out another Naganadel. We have this Mysterious Treasure. So here I'm just going to use charging up before I forget about it too. And yeah, just trying to think. I think we honestly, we either discard, well, yeah, I think we can safely get rid of the Poipole. I think that will be just fine here. Because like I said, we only need 2 Naganadels for this deck to actually properly function. And so I'm just trying to think. We have Thunder Mountain and we have Aether Paradise. If we put Thunder Mountain down, that will guarantee us to be able to attack with Tapu Koko. But if we put down Aether Paradise, it forces us to have an energy. But if we can get the Aether Paradise in play, it will force our opponent to need an additional energy to knock us out. And if we can make that happen, that would definitely be preferable to the Thunder Mountain. So I think that's what we're going to do. Like I said, if we whiff this energy, we might be in a bad spot. But we play a ton of energy in this deck, so I honestly think we have outs. And we play Acrobikes too. But here you can see, yeah, that Lightning Energy, that was the first card we even drew. So that worked out pretty well. And here you can see where that poison damage is really coming in handy. If we didn't have that, we actually wouldn't have been able to take a knockout this turn on this Tapu Lele. So that was actually pretty nice. Actually, not true. We would have had Tapu Thunder GX. I do apologize about that. But either way, that does make to where we can save our GX attack as well, which is nice. Ideally, we can maybe use that to get a big one-hit knockout on a Blacephalon we otherwise might not be able to knock out. So we'll have to see how our opponent's going to respond. They can, of course, get a knockout on us this turn, but we'll have to see. Can they find themselves some B-strings? Okay, and that's actually the first card they play. So that is going to allow them to flood their board with some more energy since I am at 4 prizes. Now, I actually think if both of our decks just operate kind of averagely for the rest of the game, I think we actually win. Because from here on out, we're going to be trading 2-hit knockouts. And we took the first 2-hit knockout. I'm sorry, not 2-hit knockout, but 2 prize knockout. And we took the first one. So I think if this exchange just continues at the pace that it's at, we're actually going to come out on top. So We definitely need some combo pieces every turn to make happen, but I think we have all of them in deck to pull it off, so we'll have to see what we're going to do here. Just going to promote this Poipole, and actually that's a sick top deck. We got the Electropower in play here. We are going to Acrobike. That's actually similarly a really good Acrobike as well. We can grab that third Naganadel, ensuring that we have 3 energy this turn. So here we can get 3 energy into play with all these Naganadels. And we have 2 Electropowers. That means all we need to do is find ourselves a Tapu Koko GX this turn, and we will be able to take a knockout with Sky High Claws. Okay, so we will do charging up here. Like I said, getting all of those in play. Just trying to think, what supporter do we go for? We could play Professor Kukui and try to hit a Koko, but off of 2 cards, I'm just not sure if that can happen. I think we're going to need the Sightseer. And from there, the question is, do we get rid of Thunder Mountain? Because, of course, we can't get it back. But I think we do here. We really just need to dig and make sure we hit this Tapu Koko. We have 3 Naganadels in play anyway, so Thunder Mountain's not too relevant at this point in the game. And here, luckily, we actually have 2 outs to a Tapu Koko. We're going to go ahead and use Rescue Stretcher, though. Wanting to save that just because we don't have a supporter in hand, and that Ultra Ball can find us a Lele on the following turn. So I'd rather save that to potentially get ourselves a supporter. So here we are going to bench this Tapu Koko. Going to get down an additional Lightning Energy as well. And then just use Sky High Claws here to take a knockout on this Blacephalon GX. So let's see, we get Lightning Energy and a Choice Band. Okay. So let's see how our opponent is going to respond. They are off of Beast Ring turns, but if they get an attachment and 2 charging ups, they can take a return knockout as well. Okay, and they have Beast Energy Prism Star, okay? That's going to increase their damage output by 30. So they are going to start using charging up here. Going to Ultra Ball. Let's see what they can... Okay, they're going to really Beast Ring. That seems pretty good. Probably looking for a Lele, I'd imagine, if they're discarding the Blacephalon. Okay, going for a Poipole. And I'm assuming their last card in hand. Okay, just the victory screen. So maybe their Lele was prized, or they didn't have another one in deck. So anyways, we are going to take that match against Blacephalon, you know, against what I would say is the most popular deck in the format. Whether or not it's the best is a different story, but definitely I think the most highly played deck as of lately. So, yeah, definitely feels good to take a dub against a deck that's that prevalent in the metagame. But here we're going to get into another game, and our opponent has a Carnivine and a Slugma. So I have no idea what we're playing against, to be honest. So here we are going to get down the Aether Paradise. That will, of course, reduce the damage done to this Carnivine as well, but we're hitting for exactly enough, even with the Aether Paradise in play. And here, just a pass. So this is honestly not a great game so far. And here we're going to see a Crushing Hammer. Okay, so maybe, is this like some sort of mill deck? Okay, we're seeing a Plumeria, we see the Crushing Hammer. This has got to be some sort of control deck. But really just curious what else our opponent has. Like, certainly they have more than just this Carnivine, Macario, and some hammers. Just curious what else they have in this deck. So here, just a Smooth Over and a Pass Over to us. So here we are going to top deck... what was that? Cynthia, I think. But anyways, we're going to refresh our hand, getting down a Poipole finally, and being an Ultra Ball. Let's get rid of Acerola, get rid of Lele as well. Acerola looks like it's probably going to be a pretty worthless card in this matchup from what I can tell. Going to get down another Poipole and just pass. We want to be able to make sure we get at least 2 energies into play next turn if this energy on our active goes down. So let's see, our opponent gets a Rangaroo. They are going to Smooth Over as well. Let's see what they're going to get here. Maybe a Draw Supporter. They haven't really done that much. Okay, so we're going to see a Girafarig. Very interesting. That actually could be a little bit problematic for us just because we are very reliant on our energy being in the discard to get back with Naganadels. So that could potentially be relevant at some point. But here they are going to go for a Guzma. So that's... Okay, at least they don't have an energy to put anything into the Lawson. Let's see. Yeah, we have a Lightning Energy in there. So here we're going to burn that Electropower. Pretty useless card in this matchup. And then just Lily. Unfortunately, we do not hit a Naganadel. Just trying to think, where do we put this energy? I think I'm just going to attach to this Tapu Koko, though. So let's see what our opponent can do. Kind of a slow start from both decks, honestly. So kind of actually happy we're going against a control deck, just because if this was against maybe something a little bit more aggressive that did damage, we would maybe be in a bad spot given how sluggish this game has been going. So here they are going to get a water energy and use Get Lost. That attack's going to allow them to put 2 cards in my discard pile into the Lost Zone, so no doubt they're going to go for that energy. And they could go for a supporter, but they are going to go for Lele, so that seems like a good idea on their part, just in case I want to go for a Rescue Stretcher. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and use this Guzma to take down this Oranguru. So Oranguru is, it looks like their whole draw engine, they're just going to be in top deck mode with that Magcargo otherwise. So I think taking out Magcargo also could have been good here as well. So let's see, they are going to draw for turn, it appears. Ooh, that is so annoying. Okay, so they're going to use Articuno GX, it's going to allow them to go into the active spot, take that water energy off of Giraffe Rig, and then they can use, I believe it's called Cold Crush GX, it allows them to discard all energy from both active Pokemon. So that is definitely super annoying in this situation. So here we can, well, how many energy do we have in discard? Oh yeah, we probably have 3 to 4 at this point. So we can discard the Aether Paradise, pretty useless card here. We're going to attach this Choice Band. If we can find ourselves, okay, we did find ourselves Thunder Mountain, not too great this turn. If we had a Naganadel, this could have been a good turn, but unfortunately that was not the case. So here our opponent is starting to bounce back. They found themselves another Oranguru, so super awkward game for this Tapu Koko deck. Our opponent's been very annoying so far, just getting rid of all of our energy, putting cards into the Lost Zone. So if they can use Get Lost yet again, that would be pretty bad as well, just because they've already put 1 energy in the discard. That would be another 2 hitting the discard pile as well. So let's see, they are going to go for a Cynthia here. Really not sure what they're looking for, maybe a Crushing Hammer or something, just to try to keep these energies out of play. But here we're going to see a Slowpoke hit the bench. So they probably are playing that Slowking. It has some sort of attack, I believe, that allows them to put cards in the Lost Zone. I forget exactly what it does, but here they're going to go for another Crushing Hammer. Grateful that did flip tails in this situation. So here we are finally going to find ourselves a Naganadel. It took us a couple turns. Definitely going to use that charging up attack, trying to keep that energy out of the discard pile. Going to put down this Thunder Mountain, definitely a good card in this matchup. And here we're going to need 2 damage modifiers to take a knockout on this Articuno. So we're going to go for a Lily here, and that is actually really nice. We found 2 Electropowers. And here's trying to think, what do we do? Could Mysterious Treasure get ourselves another Naganadel? I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get rid of that Aether Paradise. Like I said, pretty useless card in this matchup here. Our opponent's really not going to be doing damage to us. And that way we can save that Ultra Ball to potentially grab ourselves a Tapu Lele GX on the following turn if need be. So here we're going to use that double Electropower and take a knockout with Sky High Claws, doing 190 damage, knocking out this Articuno. So really not sure what our opponent's game plan against this is going to be. We are very fortunate enough to have a deck that has a way of recycling energy. Now the one way I could see us potentially losing is if they keep stripping energy off Tapu Kokos. They can eventually get us in a situation where if they play Counter Catcher, they can just like Counter Catcher up a Koko with no energy. And even though we can get, energy on our Naganadels, it doesn't really mean much when we don't have a way to get them onto the Koko. So especially once we eventually fill our bench, that is a situation we're going to have to be careful to kind of dance around and avoid. So here we are going to see a Counter Catcher. It doesn't matter too much in this situation just because we can throw down another Tapu Koko. But yeah, like I said, we definitely need to be careful, I think, of trapping ourselves with a potential Counter Catcher play where we don't have much energy in play. So your opponent is no doubt going to use Get Lost yet again. Not sure what all we have in there. I think we had 1 more energy, and so they could put an energy and then maybe a supporter of some sort if they are under the assumption we play Pow Pad. So we're going to see a Rescue Stretcher going for a second Oranguru. Okay. So they saw me target down the Oranguru earlier in the game, so they're probably thinking we really don't want something like that to happen again. So if we Guzma anything for the rest of the game, I think we're going to be going for a Magcargo. But here they are going to use that Plumeria. Not a big deal, not really worried about it too much just because we can always throw down this Koko. And here they are going to use that Get Lost attack, getting rid of some more energy. So here we are going to use Acrobike. We get rid of Poipole, I'm pretty sure. We already have 3 in play, so here we can Ultra Ball. Get rid of the Lele and the Ultra Ball, that seems good. And so we're out of Naganadels as well. We have 6 energy left in deck. We're going to have to be a little bit careful about that too. So here we bench the Koko, and we just take the energy off of these Naganadels. Well, I mean, we could even take the energy off of the Koko as well in case of a Plumeria or something like that. Okay, so that's fine. We can... Yeah, and then we'll just attach again to this bench Koko. I think that'll be okay here. Yeah, I like that. Okay. We do have Acrobatic. I'm going to save it. There's really nothing else we want this turn. I'd rather just save it in case of something like a Judge or, you know, some way for our opponent to manipulate our hand. I'd rather be able to draw back into it if our hand does get disrupted in some way. So your opponent's going to promote this Slow King. So what does this thing do? Look at your opponent's hand. Oh, and put a card there into the loss, and that's pretty bad. Yeah, I definitely don't like that. So our opponent is going to smooth over, going for an Instruct. Curious to see what they're going to get here. A Counter Catcher, okay. Going for a Nest Ball as well, setting up another Slow King, it looks like. Oh, and peeking red card, that could be annoying. So they get to look at our hand, and if they want, they can have us shuffle up and get the same amount of cards. And this hand's actually pretty similar for the most part. We have the Guzma and the Koko, which were the big cards from my previous hand. So your opponent's going to go for a Timer Ball as well. Ooh, and Team Skullgrunt, that feels pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. Ouch. Okay. So luckily our opponent is not going to use Giraffe Rig this turn. Otherwise that would be a little bit annoying. We can get this energy back in play with Naganadel, but I'd prefer to just keep manually attaching the Tapu Kokos if I have the choice. And of course they're going to put that Guzma in the discard pile, so super annoying. So here we will use Charging Up yet again. Charging Up yet again. And what do? We could bench the Tapu Koko. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine, I guess, because we need to be able to attack this turn. I would prefer to use that Guzma our opponent got rid of, but hey, we gotta do what we gotta do here. So we are going to take this energy, and sure, I guess we can take... Yeah, let's take that energy just in case we get hit with a Plumeria or something like that again. And here we're going to use Sky High Claws. Let's see what we can get here. Gonna have a Sightseer, so that's fine. We only have 1 prize left, so I honestly think we're in a good spot. We only have 12 cards left in deck, but I think we will definitely be able to find another Guzma or something before we deck out here. So let's see what our opponent is going to go for this turn. They're going to need like a Crushing Hammer. Like if they have Stadium cards, that could also be really good. They need to get down a Stadium to prevent us from attacking. So here, let's see what they can get. If they can successfully Counter Catcher, okay, they are going to have a Guzma. That's going to be pretty big for them. So what do? I'd imagine they would bring up the Tapu Koko. That's fine. Peeking red card, okay. I'd imagine they're probably going to make me shuffle up just because I have the Sightseer in hand. Okay, but we have the energy, so we should be good to go as long as they don't get rid of our Thunder Mountain here as well. So, big moment of truth here. And here, just a pass. So, yeah, we have the game. We can just throw down this energy, use Sky High Claws to take a knockout here on this Giraffe Rig, like Slow King deck, whatever it might be. So yeah, guys, that is going to be this Tapu Koko Naganadel deck. I hope you enjoyed a look at this deck. Like I said earlier, too, if you're a fan of Blacephalon and like the style of deck that is, this is actually a really nice kind of alternative to that. It actually has some kind of pros over the Blacephalon deck in certain instances, but yeah, definitely a very cool deck. Happy to see Tapu Koko GX finally get a little bit of support. It's definitely been needing it for a long time. But as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up something from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would be greatly appreciated. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.